Hi, I'm Nathan, and I'm a director, editor, and producer on Die Bully Die.
Hi, my name's Nick, and I'm a director and producer of Die Bully Die.
Bitch, I'm sorry, what is going on at your table? I'm having dinner with my high school bully who I haven't seen in 17 years.
Okay.
The script was had injections of humor throughout, and we also really related to the fact that it was a personal story. We worked with Matt Backer, who was one of the writers on the script. We worked with him on our last short film, so we know Matt, and we really appreciated how honest and you know how vulnerable he had to be in order to tell this story. And so we're big fans of horror, big fans of comedy. It had these elements in it, but it also had a really nice universal theme, we think, and that's dealing with past trauma or past experiences with bullying specifically.
Yeah, it was a really, really well-written script, and the themes and the tones and you know the I guess those emotional connection points where you could just see how it is so relevant to so many audiences, and it was really exciting to sit there and read the script for the first time and imagine all the ways in which you could really go and kind of flesh out each story beat and each direction that you could take it in, and because it had all those great elements in there, you know, like obviously it's fantastic, you know, queer story. Also, it was you know, having those elements of horror and comedy and drama and really clear, strong emotion. It was something that you know, just had so many things that you could really play around with, and for us as directors, areas that we could implement our style and the way that we like to make films, with a story that was really significant and held a lot of, you know, personal value.
The shooting process was great overall. It was challenging in places, and a lot of our challenges came from logistics, basically. So they were kind of like fun, creative challenges for us. The bathroom scene, which occurs right in the middle of the film, that was our first shooting day, and we did that first, and that was just one day, and then we had 4 restaurant days. And the difficulties in the restaurant were that we were filming in a real restaurant, so we were, you know, at the mercy of the seating and the layout of the restaurant, like the booth seatings and stuff like that. We couldn't move them. The paintings on the wall and the mirrors on the wall, we basically just had to embrace them for the story. And so our first kind of challenge was just figuring out how we were going to shoot in the restaurant, where we were going to place the characters, how we were going to block through the scenes, and that actually took us like the longest time to figure out.
Yeah, it was tricky that we couldn't just block out 5 days, 6 days in a row, or, you know, like and just shoot everything start to finish. And we didn't shoot the film in a linear fashion either. Like we started with the bathroom, and then we, you know, were jumping around to the end to film some exterior stuff out in the street, and then we started with the, you know, with the restaurant stuff last. And yeah, as Nathan said, it was a real restaurant. So the restaurant, which is called Parlour in Potts Point, is closed on a Sunday, Monday. So we would essentially get in and get access to the restaurant Sunday morning first thing, bump all our gear in, light it, set it, and then you know, Hollywood wrap that night, but then bump out again on the Sunday. So we did 2 blocks over 2 weeks where we were in the restaurant, and essentially, trying to match everything from continuity, lighting, and how we did it back to the previous week. So luckily we had a really, really great crew. I think everyone was phenomenal, and down to the crew members who were so fantastic that we were able to pull that off. There's two films in particular that both Nathan and I looked at, and we took some real strong stylistic cues from it. One was Triangle of Sadness. There's a scene in a restaurant right at the top of the film where two characters are having a disagreement over who's going to pay for the dinner in this fancy restaurant, and the way it was lit and the way that the characters were kind of framed within the space, depending on their kind of viewpoints and where the story was really, really, interesting for us, and we took a lot of inspiration from that. The other one that we took inspiration from was The Danish Girl, which is another film that, similarly, just one scene within the film. It's shot in a kind of cafe, and it's during the day, but a very similar kind of seating arrangement, and they had these big mirrors behind one of the characters as well. So we, obviously for us and in the space that we were in, we were thinking, do we shoot into these mirrors or do we avoid them? And we were so drawn to this idea of that, because the film is all about the past and reflections and trauma catching up to us, our past experiences being kind of pushed into our current life. It was just so applicable to use those mirrors, and that film was a great example of how they were able to do that and shoot quite high down facing into the mirror. So even in the single of one character, you can still see both characters, and obviously through them being reflected in this mirror behind them.
And that was kind of a great storytelling device for us as well, because Max is the character with his back to the mirror in Die Bully Die, and you can always see Adam there in his singles. So it's like always a reminder that he hasn't been able to leave his past behind and leave his bully behind. We shoot with 2 cameras, so we really need to be very prepared going on set, because we find it it's far more efficient to be planned and to go on set with a very, very good plan and idea of what you're doing. And also, because we're shooting with so many people, we had a really, really big cast and crew on this film. The last thing we want to be doing is standing around wasting everyone's time while we're figuring stuff out on set. And that's not to say we don't change on the fly. Like if we come up with, or our DP Pat comes up with a better idea on set, we'll definitely adjust on the fly as we go. And we are constantly, on this film, we were constantly in communication with our first AD, Ian, and we were dropping shots, adding shots here and there, but we find it's really helpful to us to go in with a really, really solid plan, but knowing that plan is still flexible.
Yeah.
So how we work, we don't usually work with storyboards, but we do work with a lot of visual references. So we're pulling frames from different movies. We are talking a lot about the tone and how we want each scene to feel, the lighting.
Yeah, we've essentially chatted through, myself and Nathan, beforehand as part of our process before any cameras roll or anything like that, every frame in the film and what the edit will be from start to finish.
Our focus is on the emotional arc of the story. Horror is an area that we do pay really close attention to, and especially one of the big things for us was the bathroom scene, because that was a really that was a moment that we felt we could play up in a slightly surreal way, because we've all seen scenes before in film when someone's bullied in a bathroom, like a kid is bullied in a bathroom. We've seen that before, and we really wanted to do that in a different way, and we wanted to actually approach that scene like a horror scene, to really make the audience understand how horrific it can feel if you're that person being bullied, you know.
Or that we want to continue moving the emotion and continue moving the style and tone of a film, so it's not just one continuous feeling that you're giving to an audience, and there's not just one kind of effect that you're directing, you know, to the people who are watching the film. We want to keep them moving, and we want to keep their kind of interest going through different emotions, not just staying in the one space all the time.
With actors that are that good, in our experience working with just top caliber actors, it's really like less is more. So if we're talking to them and giving them a direction, like we're really giving really minor stuff, and you can just see them embody that in the next take. And that's what's so fantastic about working with these actors as well, is the tool set that they bring, and the variety of performance that they can bring on just a really minor or subtle change in direction really just adds so much extra texture to that character and extra context. All our sets have been so varied, and like there's been sets we've worked on where we don't have a director's monitor, you know, so we're kind of, I mean, Nick's always on one camera, but I might just be standing behind a camera. I definitely like to be as close to the action as possible, and not even once we're all framed up and we're ready to roll. Like I like to look at the actors rather than the monitor. So if I can get close to the actors and close to the action, then I'll be sitting or standing somewhere as close to that as possible. I'm
usually shooting alongside Pat, our DP, so I'm looking through a frame and looking through, you know, the lens to kind of see how that how, you know, everything's being captured on screen. I think one of the hardest things to do is actually just to make a start somewhere with something. So actually having that point at which you start and go, I'm just going to do something and see where it goes is really, you know, it can be hard. And I just hope that that's the thing that people kind of just, no matter what it is, just give it a go and just start somewhere, you know, and ask a favor from a friend, and you know, if someone says no, that's fine. If someone says yes, then that's great. But most people respond really well to it, and they have a great experience too. Yeah,
I'd say don't be afraid, like, and don't take yourself too seriously either.
Yeah.
You know, like the most benefits that we get, and the biggest learning experiences for us, are making something and seeing it through from start to finish.
Try stuff out. If it doesn't work, that's, you know, own it. Show people, to get their opinions, you know, like tell, you know, whoever you're showing your work to be like, be honest.
Influences for me personally would be like the likes of, I mean, everyone's gonna say this, but like Stanley Kubrick is huge, right? Gaspar Noé is a big one. Like the first time I saw Enter the Void or Irreversible, like I was just blown away. Both of us love David Fincher. I mean, there's really no, like Sidney Lumet, there's no, we could be here for days, like rattling off directors and films.
Like inspirations especially within Australia is, you know, Justin Kurzel's Snowtown, for a debut feature film, incredible. And the way he was able to really capture a really interesting part of Australian culture, and really interesting kind of gritty subculture in Australia that you know, most filmmakers would kind of shy away from in a way, or wouldn't think to themselves, you know, I want to make a film like that. And then of course David Michaud as well, and Animal Kingdom. I think, you know, just such a brilliant example of incredible directing and storytelling, and again, really just fitting into such a a kind of real niche subculture in Australia that, although it's a little bit more commercial and a little bit more glossy, you know, with you know, kind of criminal underworld, it's a little bit more sexy, but the actual subject matter is still so grim and so bleak. And for you know, both of those filmmakers to make these debut feature films that, you know, are almost just instant classics and really encapsulate such an authentic aspect of Australian culture is just, you know, really inspiring, and really something that, you know, we spend a lot of time, and I spend a lot of time just thinking about and just kind of really kind of trying to understand the process of that. And what about those films are so special, because I think there's so much, like, so many intangible aspects to a film that people just relate to. But yeah, it's kind of the favorite films for the moment.
Both of us, like, really know and believe in how much talent there is within Australia, and we'd love to see more Australian made content and Australian stories on screen. And yeah, I mean, that's something we're really passionate about, and something that we want to be a part of as well. We want to contribute to that, because we've worked with, you know, amazing cast and crew, and, you know, I've worked on a lot of overseas, like primarily American productions, and, you know, like, America's tapped into the talent that we have over here, you know, so I'd love to see that being reflected in our local stories as well. So I'd just love to see the industry grow to the point that I know it should be, you know, because as I said, there are so many talented people in the industry and so many talented storytellers. Yeah. And I'd love to see the film industry in particular be a lot bigger over here.
Yeah, kind of just allowing creators out there an avenue to take risks and be bold with the way they want to tell something, you know, either through the technical elements or the story elements of a film would be something that, you know, I'd love to see more.
Like, something that stood out to us was fairly recently was say the movie Talk to Me, right? Like, we were both huge fans of that movie, very Australian movie, but very unique as well. And it feels like a Talk to Me equivalent only comes along once every few years, if that. And for us, that's the biggest shame, and that's no full credit to those guys for making a great film, but we think great films like that should be able to be made every year, you know, if not multiple great films coming out of Australia every year. And that's where we'd love to see the industry to get to, is it's not just once every few years that people are talking about an Australian film that's doing well overseas. It's like multiple films a year, or at least one every year.
Yeah. And that is two guys that, you know, were ultimately, you know, the Causeway Films would have taken a risk, you know, giving two first-time filmmakers, you know, quite a substantial amount of money to make that film. And you know, it's so fantastic that they did, because, you know, it's like, you know, the rising tide lifts all boats. You know, now it's been such a successful film, and it kind of it helps, you know, with the way internationally people perceive Australia and perceive the Australian industry, and what can come out of Australia and the talent that we have here, and are so fortunate to have with the filmmakers that are already here, you know. After Die Bully Die, we're focused on making our first feature. So we do have a project in development that we're both working on. Yeah, it's that's the focus for us now, and getting it made and getting it out there.
Sweet, that's so sick. I can't wait. That is so cool.